Hello. Welcome to the Lenten devotional for March 24th. My name is Lois Henseler. I've been a member of First Presbyterian Church, Allentown for 34 years, and I currently serve on the Compassion, Peace, and Justice team. Today, we'll be considering John 9, in which Jesus heals a blind man, who then professes his faith, saying, "Lord, I believe." Our question is, what do you believe about yourself and about God? You may be familiar with the story of Jesus healing the blind man. The passage itself is filled with questions. The disciples asked Jesus, who sinned, the man or his parents, that he was born blind? The Pharisees questioned if Jesus can be from God if he sins by healing on the Sabbath. And how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? These types of questions, although decidedly the wrong ones, are all too familiar. I've had times in my life when, despite my belief to the contrary, I've gotten stuck in the loop of searching for the sin I committed that led to my cancer or other traumas in my life. Like the disciples, I've looked for answers that say more about my need to make sense of a sometimes random world than they say about the nature of God. They reflect a misguided notion that there is a direct correlation between sin and illness, sin and suffering. But in this passage, Jesus makes it clear that this is not the case for the blind man, and certainly not the case for us. Unlike the disciples, Jesus doesn't get stuck in judgment and hypotheticals, but instead quickly refutes the assumptions and moves on to loving the man in the most concrete way possible. He restores his sight. So what do I believe about myself? Unfortunately, I feel as though I can relate to each character in the story. Sometimes I get stuck in judgment, like the disciples. I sometimes want to uphold societal norms, like the Pharisees. And sometimes, although not nearly often enough, I declare my belief without concern for consequences, like the blind man. I also believe that with God's help, I can act in love, like Jesus. And what do I believe about God? When everything I believe is boiled down to the very basics, I believe God is love. God is the love shown to the blind man despite his never asking to be healed. God's love is radical and inclusive and powerful. And I believe when we choose to live out God's love, we can change the world. What do you believe about yourself and God? Please join me in prayer. Good and gracious God, thank you for your love that surrounds us even when we falter. Help us to be the vessels that demonstrate your radical love within our families, to our friends, our community, and especially to those that society has pushed to the margins. All this we ask in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a great day.